Greetings, good folks. Hopefully, everybody is doing them in the most bona fide way that you know how. Are you guys aware of the continuous chain of events that's taking place all over the world? Obviously, we are aware that there is a current world war that's taking place. We understand that World War III is underway. All of the dysfunction and the discord and all of these things that are happening, we are we actually really tapped into what's going on? So I want to talk to the brothers and the sisters in the community, and I want to understand. I want to be made aware. Are the people who follow my content or my pages, are we all staying tapped in? Are we all aware of what's going on, right? Because I know that a lot of times, sometimes we don't have the time, or some people will say that they don't have the time to do, certain research, or to, do your homework, to look into certain things. And that's understandable because a lot of us are busy, but are people aware that there is a lot of content online that is talking about, there's a lot of news media and content that is talking about how this administration is literally trying to set us back 50, 60, even a century of time back in history. All of these different things that have been implemented to diminish and do away with the civil rights of African American or Black people. Are people actually tapped in to this information? Are you guys seeing this information? Are you coming across this information? There are reports, and there's a lot of content, and there's news reports talking about how this administration has did their due diligence and intentionally made changes, and even wrote a executive orders, and has done things that will be to the detriment of our community. They're talking about how there were things that were implemented to say that whatever the executive orders or the laws were, that it was racist, or it was discriminatory. It was discriminating against white people. And it's very interesting, and I'm making this this upload to want to bring awareness to what this individual who is the leader of the free world, or what this administration is doing. A lot of people, when they're in positions of power, when they're trying to do certain things, they want to seem like they're the good guy, or that they have righteous intention. But a lot of times people do things in the most manipulative ways, and that's how they can get away with things, especially when people don't understand, or people aren't doing their homework, right? So if a person feels inferior to someone, or they know the potential or power of someone, they will do any and everything in their power to try to keep them down, to try to keep them what they deem as second class to them, so that they remain in a certain level of power. We already see this across the world. Everything that this beast touches, they destroy it. We know that, we see that. But even in our own country, they do certain things so that they can remain in a certain level of power, or so that they can feel as though their positions will remain. And so, when they feel as though there is a certain group of people, or should I say, more specifically, when they feel as though Black people are a threat to them, they will do any and everything, even the reversal of certain laws, so that they can feel as though they are inferior, or so they can always feel as though they are in power. So this is their power move, but then their survival move, right? They're doing things that they feel desperate to do because they are in survival mode. This is what this administration is doing actively. And it's like a lot of us are not paying attention because we're distracted, because we're trying to handle business. A lot of people are in survival mode. And then there's the other issue where when people are not educated, or when they are consistently told, repeatedly are told, that their voices don't matter, or that their vote don't matter, they feel discouraged and apprehensive to go out and go vote, or to make their vote count, or to make their voice heard. The only thing that I can honestly say that would help that, or will be a good solution to that, is kind of what I've heard some of the leaders, some of our leaders say previously, recently, that creating certain forums or creating certain resources in different communities to educate us as a people, so the people feel more confident in voting and feeling as though their voice can actually be heard, and that their vote will count. Because a lot of our people don't feel as though their voices matter, and we kind of go down certain rabbit holes, and we become aware of certain conspiracies and a lot of unfairness that is happening. So it seems as though we're living in a day and time, in this present climate, the temperature is that a lot of people are throwing their hands up, so they don't want to try. And the problem with that is, when you don't try, then you can't succeed if you did not at least try. So if you don't play the lottery, then you can't win. That type of deal, right? Some people, it's interesting to me, because a lot of our people in our communities will say, when people, they debate on religious topics and things, they'll say, well, when they run out of whatever that they brought forth evidence to debate about, as far as their religion, they'll say, well, I'm just going to bet on my religion, and I'm going to follow what this says, and I'd rather be wrong, and then when I transition, I will still live in a certain type of way, versus to gamble with that. So why isn't that some of us keep that mindset when it comes to voting in the midterms and things? At least trying to encourage one another to say, well, why don't we just conduct a national experiment, and reach out and tell each other and encourage each other to go to the polls, and to participate in the midterms, and then just see what happens. Because it seems as though it could be a little bit rigged, but it also seems as though, they're playing a game, and they're trying to win. They play to win. So they are telling, their people to go out and to vote, and they're going out and voting religiously in droves, which is the reason why we see how, Congress is, and how it looks, and it looks as though it is literally structured in opposition to us. Thus is the reason why we see that these things are happening, that all certain individuals can do is put pen to paper, and then with a snap of a finger, they can try to return you to that slave era in which some of our ancestors had to endure and had to be in. It's very important that we keep in mind that we had very strong leaders that was very tenacious and resilient, and relentless about getting certain things done. And I think that it's safe to say, without being harsh or ruthless, that it's safe to say that some of us just may be a little bit either too distracted, or maybe a little bit too lazy. So in this time, let's make it a time and a day for, entertainment and for pleasure, but let's keep it to a minimum, and just really try to stay tapped in to what's really going on. Because sometimes we can become very reactionary, and we don't need to be reactionary. We need to be proactive in the way that we are moving, so that we don't get sideswiped, or we don't get hoodwinked in the process. And I don't want to say this, and it just it goes out into the atmosphere, and it's like, oh well, Queen Bree, she just just saying some things. No, actually putting it into action and making it our strong efforts, because we're very distracted, and we're all guilty of it. This whole device thing, and having a computer in our hand at any given time, I absolutely get it and I understand. Then all of the other things that, are to be, factored in and considered when we're talking about our day-to-day lives, handling our business, and then our families, our children, and community, if community is at the forefront of your mind as well. So it is, is very bothersome and is very concerning that people, this administration is so sneaky and, kind of sneaky in a way, but really they are doing things in our face and really just saying, so what are you going to do about it, in the name of it's discriminatory towards white people. And how could certain things be discriminatory towards white people, or how could it be a threat to white people when they pretty much run this corporation? So the corporation is falling, and while it's on its descent, they're trying to keep their power in whatever which way that they can, right? In whichever way that they can. And people, for our people to continue to believe that some of these people who are the enemy, or should I say people that look like people in this administration, right, to think that they are your friend, or to believe the things that they say to make it sound good, really just slow down and use your common sense. And because a lot of times when we face adversities or we face opposition, sometimes we get emotional about it and sometimes we become reactive about it. But sometimes a power move is just to collect the data. It's data collection. You sit back, you observe, you watch, you take notes, and then you figure out consciously what to do next and where to go from there, right? But they're continuously doing things and showing you, no, we don't care about you, and we want to make every move to try to reverse everything that makes you feel like you're free, or to make you a free human being in this country. They don't care about us, right? And a person can say so many things, but when you see what they do, that is the evidence, and that's what we need to go off of. They're showing us exactly what they think and what they're doing. They playing hardball right in our face and telling us consistently, repeatedly, that they don't care about us. So I think that it's a time that we dig a little bit deeper and to become more focused and more tapped in this time as far as what's going on, because apparently they don't take any days off. Apparently, they don't give themselves breaks and time off. It's consistently an enemy putting pen to paper so that they can make you feel like less of a human, to put you backwards. And then try to use people that look like us to say, hey, I fed them breadcrumbs. Hey, I did this small thing for them. So then it makes it look good because I did something for one or two or three, a few people that look like them. And then they all will think, hey, this is our friend and they actually care about us. It's kind of like that whole Angela Stanton situation, right? She was pardoning, and all of a sudden this individual in the Oval Office is her friend and is a friend to all of us. But then when you see the things that are being implemented and the things that are being changed under this administration, then you have to ask, is these people our friends? They're never our friends, right? And then you use your common sense and you use your intellectual faculties and you're able to make a wise, sound decision. How? Because when someone is making decisions and they are serious enough to affect you, your family, and our whole community, that's a problem. But we're not just seeing this in 2026, and we're not seeing these things happen just right now in this modern day time in 2025 and all of these things. This has been going on for eons and for a very long time. We have been fighting this beast and fighting these enemies who want to play in our face and try to, create an illusion of some type of allies or some type of friendship, or that they even care, when they don't, because they're literally actively, consistently doing things that puts us back in history, that is literally working against us, that's literally trying to make us powerless. If that doesn't raise your antennas, or that don't make you feel some type of way, then I don't know what will. The religious folks go off of the scripture in the Bible that say that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Well, this is one of those things. We should be speaking and sharing information, and we should be gaining more knowledge so that we may protect ourselves, because these people, again, are playing hardball, and they're not playing fair, and they're not going to ever play fair. We don't need to ask for anything from this administration, but whatever is rightfully ours, we need to command and demand that we have it. Because, it's like, these people take us for a joke, or they say, oh, well, they don't know anything, or they're not going to do anything. They're not going to fight. And one of the smallest ways that I think will be a good gamble for the people, for some of us who are probably too smart for our own good, is to just do, a national experiment. Why don't we show up in the name of what our ancestors did and just go, conduct an experiment in the midterms? Everybody go out and show up in your best Sunday's dress, or your best dress, and then, just participate in our own experiment, and to collectively say that we're going to cast a vote and let our voices be heard on behalf of not only our ancestors and the hard work that they did, but on behalf of our community and the people in these places that have the power at this present time to make things change for the better. Because as it is, with us doing nothing, we know what they're doing, and they sit back, kick their feet up, and what do? They laugh at us, right? We don't have any friends. Black folks, African Americans, we don't have no friends like that. People look at us like, oh, they're just consumers. And, we're just going to consume things and continue to consume things. And then we make other people's communities richer, because obviously our dollar don't circulate and stay in our community long enough. We know that. So just because we do business with people, and, it seems like on a communal, just exchanging of the dollar and the whole consumer process, the producer and consumer process, it seems as though we have friends because we're able to be cordial and to act like we have common sense and act civilized. We're very, not to undermine the intellectualism of us, we're very intelligent people, right? But sometimes we have to prove how sharp we are up here, because people are, they trying to, like I said, they trying to left hook, right hook. And, they really just doing the most right up under our nose. And when a person or people are so bold to do these things, they do it because they feel as though, we're either not paying attention or we're not going to do anything about it. And as I always say, these type of people that do things that are in opposition to you, or to make their people and their children and their grandchildren stronger, say, well, what are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything about it, And I just want to say before I end this upload, to get with people in our communities that are really strong-minded and love Black people, and people who will try to do things that is not detrimental, that is going to help us, and not people who are going to encourage you to be quiet, to sit with your legs crossed, to, sit and twiddle your fingers and your thumbs and wait for something to happen, and to just be, to be quiet and to be a good subservient servant and behave like a good, young man and young woman. I'm not saying that people need to get out here and act a fool, but what I'm saying is I think that we should take things a little bit more serious. And when people want to say, oh, well, it's your energy, or it's this, and people are doing this and people are doing that, sometimes I understand as a Black woman that when people are in a uproar, or when they feel a certain type of way, or when you become passionate about something and for reasons that absolutely matter, or when you feel passionate about the fact that that your enemy is in your face, playing in your face, but then also fighting you in your face consistently, and consistently trying to make you less of a human being, or saying forget what it is that your leaders and your ancestors has done and what they have done to get you ahead, all of the work that they have put in. If you feel passionate about it, if you feel angry about it, if you feel any negative way about it, I think that we should acknowledge that as a natural response or a natural feeling, right? So, it's a really good feeling, and it feels really good when you can be in community and you could talk to people that you know feel the same about you. I'm not talking about trauma bonding or anything that is negative or anything that's toxic and people who want to stay in a certain low frequency and things. But there is a such thing as divine justice. There is a such thing as sacred rage. There is a such thing as feeling a certain type of way, whether that is anger or feeling, passionately about certain things because you know that it's wrong. We are a good people by nature. We are a very compassionate, loving people by nature. We have not only civilized this whole planet, we have fed and healed and birthed and just done some of the most divine, beautiful, amazing things that one could conceive in 2026. So when you know who you are in your divine nature, and you know that you are not of the likeness of a certain type of enemy who continues to play enemy in your world and in opposition, doing things that is in opposition to you, yeah, it makes you feel a way. And I think that that is a natural human response. So I'm going to go ahead and end this upload. And I just wanted to, I wanted to create this video to encourage, Black folks, encourage my brothers and my sisters who are serious and those who are concerned to get with people who are like-minded and to continue to feed one another and to reciprocate that energy. Get around people who's going to feed your soul and who you can converse with, where people are reciprocating that energy and talking about things that absolutely matter. People who are like-minded, because it doesn't feel good when you're concerned about certain things that absolutely matter and not enough people are, because they're distracted or they're in zombie mode, or they feel as though, they throw in a towel and there's nothing that we can do, or they walk in and they live in fear, right? So being with people who are powerful and strong-minded and, people who are serious and concerned about what's going on and actually want to put their heads together and have conversations and then make moves to try to figure out how we may help one another is going to be the move. So I pray you guys well. I pray that you guys, stand in your power, that you become more powerful, that you slow down and make time to gain knowledge and to get around people who are also aware and serious about the time, and the people that you can absolutely be in community with and talk about these things. You guys be well. Be careful. Keep your head on a swivel. Much ashe to you.